Hey y'all, it's been a while since I've been on social media. I've been protecting my space and my energy. It's almost been a year since I moved to Portugal from the United States of America, and it's been ups and downs, but overall, I'm very happy with my decision. And I came back to social media, kind of share with you some of the things and the places that I go as a resident here now, not as a tourist. And hopefully, it will help somebody out there that's interested in either visiting Portugal or maybe coming to live here as a Black American. So, again, I just want to give the perspective of coming from a Black American woman. Today, I'm going on a hike with a couple of other Black American women, and we try to get together and support each other. All of us have moved from either the United States or somewhere abroad. We've all moved here. So another thing is I'll share is I started my Portuguese language classes, and I'll be trying to incorporate that at some point in my videos. But y'all, just happy to have you with me, and let me take you along with me on the hike. In this video, I'm taking a walk with a few other Black American women who have also moved here, and we're talking about why so many people end up moving back home within the first year of living abroad. My name is Tamara, and I'm starting over at 50 years old as a Black American woman. After my children began living primarily with their father, I hit a turning point. The cost of living in the United States was unsustainable. I no longer wanted to have a 9 to 5. I wanted to retire, and I was just unhappy. So I chose to start over abroad. This is not my first time moving abroad, but I have lived in a couple of different countries. If y'all are interested in speaking to anyone about moving abroad and you want to talk about your plans or even some of your issues, I am a listening ear, and you can find my link in my bio. Remember to please subscribe and also hit the like button and leave me a comment and let me know what other videos you want me to film for you or what you would like to talk about. Give me some ideas. But I'll tell you, the first thing is that the honeymoon phase is real, y'all. And a lot of people don't plan for after the honeymoon phase. If you don't know what the honeymoon phase is, that's when you move abroad and everything feels like a vacation. You just feel like you're on an extended vacation and all your senses are being excited. Everything around you is exciting. Everything you hear is exciting. The smells are exciting. That does come to an end, and it doesn't matter how many times you move abroad, you'll always go through the first period of honeymoon phase, and that usually ends in a couple of months, and that's when reality sets in. And so after the honeymoon phase, the first thing that I see people struggle with is isolation. And isolation can come from a lot of different places, but a few of those places that isolation comes from is the language. So you have to get settled, and I'm telling you that it's integral. You have to get settled and get yourself into language classes if you haven't already started before you've gotten to the country. I would recommend to try to start before you get to the country. But as soon as you get in, make it a priority, start language classes. The next thing is that people are missing their families. They are not used to being away from their families. They're not used to not having a safety net of friends. And, that's very difficult. Another thing is that you're feeling judged. It's some people, I'm going to tell y'all this, and it's not talked about a lot. It's some people out here that's going to judge you and that is not going to be on board with your move abroad. And you need to be careful about being around that type of energy. And the next thing is, I'm going to tell you, it's the biggest thing to me. It's living remotely, being in a remote area. And I tell you that I think that is like the number one reason why or where people go wrong when they're dealing with isolation. It is very important that when you first move to a country, you do not isolate. I even suggest you move into tourist areas, which people will tell you no, but I'm going to tell you why when I go over through some of the solutions that I do think that the best place for you to move when you first get somewhere is in the touristy areas. And then another thing is You have to know what kind of, what kind of personality you have. Are you introverted? Are you extroverted? You need to know what type of personality you are and plan for that personality type in a place where you're going to have language challenges. The next issue that I see people move back home and back to their home country is financial pressures. Running out of money, unexpected expenses, emergency trips back home that might have drained your savings a little faster than maybe you planned for. And just not putting a placement on not only bringing in money continuously, but the importance of having a savings. The next thing that I'll say is a big thing that people don't talk about is unmet expectations. Thinking your life will instantly improve. You can go, but you still going to take yourself with you. You got to remember that all these ideas of everything is going to be lollipops and rainbows and Tootsie Rolls when I get to where I'm going. That's not necessarily true. You do change your life, but you're still going to have to work through some of those same things that you had to work through or needed to work through when you were back in your home country. And the last thing is exhaustion. A lot of people don't understand the amount of sheer energy, not just physical energy, emotional and psychological energy it takes to move. And then when you move to another country, every day you're exerting energy, especially when you don't know the language and you're trying to transverse places that you don't know how to transverse. That takes a lot of energy. Now, let's talk about some of the ways you can protect yourself. Number one is I go back to isolation. Location matters. You need to choose where you want to live very carefully. And I keep saying that this is huge because it's the number one place I see people go wrong. They make investments into where they're going to live, and they get sold on moving further out because we're used to doing that in the United States because you get more for your money. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to get to another country and they're going to tell you, oh, you get more for your money. It's less expensive to move away from the tourist areas. But when you are new to a country, you do not want to be in a place where you're isolated. Anything can happen. And a lot of times you're not prepared when it comes to language. If something, an emergency happens and you're car dependent, that is not a good mix. And it also causes for the culture shock to sink in a lot harder. So please choose, more the touristy areas. I know they're expensive, but think about downsizing. If you're looking for a 1-bedroom, go ahead and downsize to a studio just until you get a hold of the language and you make connections locally. Then you can feel more free to move out and maybe isolate yourself. But I'm telling you, unless you're a couple or you're married, if you're single or you have kids and you're single, do not move far out. You want to be somewhere where you can get around easily on public transportation. I'm not talking about Ubers. That is still being car dependent. So choose tourist friendly areas and downsize if you need to afford better locations. The next thing about isolation is it is important for you to plug into community. I know a lot of people say, don't do that as soon as you get. No, do it as soon as you get there. Before you get there, plug into the expat and immigrant communities. First, use Facebook groups for finding those groups, and then try to move into the WhatsApp groups, which are normally the people that locally live there. And they will help you. They'll help you with referrals, doctors that speak English, tax services, navigating certain systems, and it's just all out support. Make sure you plug into a community as soon as you get there or before you get there. And the next thing is be open but realistic. Everyone won't be your friend. That's okay. The more exposure you have, the better chances you have of making connections. Now let's talk about safety and awareness. Make sure that someone knows where you are and who you are. Even if you have to, right now, I wrote out how to contact emergency services because it's not 911. and I put in like my local contact and then a contact back in the States. And I carry this around with me in my pocket. Make sure that you are prepared by registering yourself with the embassy and things like that. You want an emergency plan in place. We're all working on right now, making sure that we have go bags, which if something happens, we have this bag we can just grab and go. Now, I'll tell you that you want to also build a routine, schedule some self-care. Right now, and I'm not talking about anything that's capitalist based. I'm trying to get away from spending a lot of money, but I just make sure I get my hair done once a month and my nails done once a month to establish normalcy. You need to go to a hair place, a nail place, a cafe, somewhere you frequent where even the locals know your face. They may not know you, but you need them to at least look for you to, the same place you go to buy your bread or, the same way you go walking on the beach. And here is safe. In the United States, that would be considered unsafe because you don't want anybody learning your routines. But remember, especially when I'm talking about Portugal, the seventh safest country in the world, this is for safety reasons. You want to become a familiar face, okay? So make sure y'all are checking into language classes. Make sure you check and see if they're free language classes. Like here, they offer language classes through the city council's office. A lot of countries want you to learn their language, so they're going to offer you avenues to get you in those classes and get you learning their particular language. And I just did that. So that's another place you can kind of protect yourself. And we need to talk about mindset, accept that these are phases and it will pass. I hate to see people move back within a year because they didn't give it a chance. They didn't give it a chance. You need to give yourself, in my opinion, you need to give yourself at least 2 years. You need to give yourself at least 2 years. Embrace any mistakes. Look for mistakes and be thankful for them because you learn from mistakes and you could teach others. And that's another reason why you can really, really learn is by teaching others things that you have learned. Now, this is a trick that I found in the very first place that I lived by myself, which was Italy. That you need to travel your region, get out, get on those Flixbuses, take a train ride. They have some beautiful places locally and regionally. And one of the reasons I moved from out of the United States is because once you get into Europe, you can travel very inexpensively. It is not expensive to get a ticket, somewhere. I could be in France with a 50 euro ticket. These tickets to get inside different countries in Europe are inexpensive, and the cost of living overall is just inexpensive. It's another thing I wanted to talk to y'all about. It's going to be hard, and people are going to say, no, it's not going to be hard. This is why I moved. You need to learn to slow down. Once you get out of the country, you're going to see how the United States is always on the go. It's always on the go. You're always pushed to do more. You're always pushed to do better. I am starting to dislike, and y'all look up Stephanie Perry because I got this from her. I don't like that term Black excellence. I feel like it just means burn yourself out for no reason. When you go to other countries, they don't work the way that United States Americans work. They work just enough to support their homes and their families. Yes, there's some economies that are struggling, but you'll see the mindset is not to burn yourself out, working as much as you can and as hard as you can. Literally, these people make time and balance for families. They make time and balance for you to be able to see yourself and learn how to have, enjoy yourself in outside nature. There's not a lot of capitalism here. So that's what I want to talk to y'all about. Let me know if there's any other things that y'all want to talk about on this channel. I will try to post once a week, every Friday or Saturday. And just remember that I'm not, a professional consultant, just someone who's lived abroad. And I have traveled 12, I had to count them, so 12 plus countries. And if you're considering a lifestyle and want someone to talk to, feel free to reach out and speak to me about your plans. or just saying about any roadblocks you're having. Now, just a little bit, just to end this video, we did this nice little trail walk in Cascais, Portugal. It's a beautiful coastal town. It's about a 30-minute drive from Lisbon. It's about 40 to 50 minutes on the train. And that's another thing that's really nice about living here in Portugal. You really don't need a car. Everywhere you go is literally connected by some type of public transportation. And I particularly enjoy the buses, the trains, and the metro. Not so much the buses, but the trains and the metros. I try to stay away from the buses, honestly, because I just don't like to wait. And on the trains and the metros, you can kind of just walk in. But we ended it with a little, get together brunch that I'm showing y'all the restaurant and pointing it out. And if y'all want to know the name of the trail walk or know the name of the restaurant, just let me know in the comments and I'll put that kind of stuff in the video from here on out. All right, y'all. See you soon.